What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing on with our iOS development with UIKit tutorial series, and in this particular tutorial we are going to be taking a look at swipe actions for table view cells. Now, what are swipe actions? Well, swipe actions are exactly what they sound like. They are actions that can be performed on a table view cell when you swipe from the leading edge or the trailing edge of a cell. Now, previously, when we were covering swipe to delete, we used the commit cell editing style delegate method. What I want you to do is I want you to remove that method. Because that swipe to delete functionality, it doesn't work too great with swipe actions. You will encounter some unexpected behavior, and just to avoid that, get rid of the old way of doing swipe to delete, because with a swipe action you can do it just as easily. Alright, now before we get into the code, I want to explain the two kinds of objects that we need to understand to achieve the creation of swipe actions. The first being UI contextual action. Now, this object is the action, the button for your swipe action. So you give this a title, you give it the action it needs to perform, you give it a style, and all that stuff. You can give it a background, you can give it an image, you can do all of that. And then, of course, when you add it to the next object we're going to talk about in the array of actions that it takes, it acts as a button. When you tap on it, its completion handler will execute. The second object that we need to understand is UI swipe actions configuration. Now, this is the object that actually configures your swipe actions for your cell, and is what we need to return in the two delegate methods for swipe actions. The initializer for UI swipe actions configuration takes an array of UI contextual action objects, which, of course, as stated before, are the actual actions themselves. And the order of the actions in this array does matter. So if you have your actions on the trailing edge of your cell, the way that they are inserted in the array is the first action is the trailing most item. So the first item will be the one closest to the trailing edge, and then the more items there are, or the more contextual actions there are, the further away from the trailing edge it gets. The leading edge, however, is the exact opposite, where, they're mirrored, right? So the first action in the actions array will be the closest to the leading edge, and the more items that are added, the closer to the trailing edge it'll get, right? The further away from the leading edge it'll get. So for leading edge, they are displayed in the exact same order as you put them in the array itself. For the trailing edge, it's reversed. So the order does matter. Now let's talk about the style real quick, and then we'll get into the code. So for UI contextual action style, there are two options. There's destructive, and then there is normal. Destructive will allow your swipe action to be read, but it'll also delete the row from the table on its own when it's activated. So you are then responsible for actually removing that row from the source of data yourself. It'll remove it from the table, but you have to remove it from the data source itself as well, so everything remains in sync. If you don't want to do that, and say, for example, you want to make sure that you have an alert that shows up for some kind of destructive action as a confirmation dialog, then use the normal style and set the background color to red. So you can still signal that it's a destructive action, but you can do other stuff before actually performing the delete. All right. With all that explained, with all that out of the way, let's get right into the code. So in Xcode, inside of your UITableView delegate conforming class, there are two different methods that we can work with here. The first one we'll take a look at is trailing swipe actions at index path. So trailing, there we go. Trailing swipe actions, like that. Now, inside of the body of this method, we need to define our contextual actions. So first, I'm going to define an action for marking a movie as a favorite. And we can do this by saying let favorite action equals UI contextual action, and the one we want is where we have the style, title, and the completion handler. So for style, I'm going to say dot normal. For the title, we'll say mark as favorite, like that. And then for the handler, you can see it's of type UI contextual action handler, or dot handler. Now, this is a type alias. And this can be a little bit frustrating because you have to kind of drill into the documentation to find what this type alias is actually representing. And this is representing a closure that takes in 3 parameters. The first parameter is the action itself. So the action that's calling the completion handler. The second is the view that the action is associated with. So in this case, the view is going to be the specific table view cell. But the view is of type UIView. So you'd have to cast it to UITableViewCell or whatever if you needed to use it for whatever reason. The second is a closure that takes in a Boolean. And this is yet another completion handler where you pass it true if it's if the action was successful, and then you pass it false if it wasn't. All right, and so since this is the last parameter of our initializer, we can make this a trailing closure. Okay. All right. There we go. And because we don't need the action or the view parameters, I'm going to make them an underscore. So underscore, comma, underscore, comma, and we need the completion. So we'll say completion in and then inside of here, we're going to simply put a print statement. So print mark as favorite has been tapped. Like that. And that is our first action. Next, we'll create a delete action. Or, well, okay, we'll create 3 actions instead, just to kind of give you an idea of how this is going to work. Initially, I was going to do 2, but 3, we'll do 3. So you can, and that way you can better see the orientation as well as, you know, or the orientation for the order that they're. So you can better see the order in which they're placed, I guess, would be the better way to put that. We can copy paste the mark as favorite action, because this edit action that I want to do, it really isn't going to be much different. So here, all we need to do here in this one is, instead of favorites, it's edit action. And then again, we want normal, but title is going to be different. We want edit. Okay. Print, and instead of mark as favorite, and we'll say edit like that. And let's fix the title for the mark as favorite. All right, there we go. And then finally, we'll say let delete action equals UI contextual action with a style of normal, a title of delete, and then we'll grab the handler here. And we'll again do underscore, comma, underscore, comma, completion in, and then inside of here, we actually want to remove the row from our table. So here we can say movies dot remove at index path dot row, and then table view dot delete rows at index path with dot fade, let's say. And there we go. I should also make sure that the completion is called with true pass to it. Let's do the same thing for edit and mark as favorite. So completion true. And completion true, like that. All right, and I need to explicitly put true, or not true, self dot for when we're referencing movies. So I can do that here real quick. Self dot movies dot remove. There we go. And so now that we have our three actions created, the last thing that we need to do is configure the background color for each of these, and configure the image for each of these, and then return them in a UI swipe action configuration. So we can say first, favorite action dot background color equals dot system yellow. Edit action dot background color equals dot system blue. And delete action dot background color equals dot system red. And then now for the images. So favorite action dot image equals UI image with a system name of star.fill. We want edit action dot image equals a UI image with a system name of pencil. And finally, delete action dot image is equal to a UI image equals a UI image with a system name of trash.fill. Alright, make sure that this isn't fucked up, because it probably is. UI image, system name. Okay, yep, we should be okay. Finally is where we need to return our UI swipe actions configuration. So here we can say return UI swipe actions configuration. It takes in an array of actions. So to start with, we want our delete action. So delete action. Then we want our edit action. And then we want our favorite action. And what this will do then is when we save it and we run our code, we have a successful build. Here we are. I can swipe on a cell using my trackpad here. And we can see all of our actions here. So you can see from the trailing edge going inward, we can see our delete action, then we can see our edit action, and then we can see our mark as favorite action. If we go into the VoiceOver Actions menu, we also see delete, edit, and mark as favorite. Because, if you're familiar with VoiceOver at all, you know that we can't do a physical swipe. So the VoiceOver commands menu is pretty much the way that we do, is the way that we access these swipe actions. Alright, so that is the trailing edge swipe actions. If you want these swipe actions to be, say, on the trailing edge instead, you can simply change trailing swipe actions in the function signature to leading swipe actions. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So here we go, func table view, UITableView, and then for our second parameter, we have trailing swipe actions. So change trailing here to leading, save this and run it. And now our app is running again, but we can swipe on the other edge of our cell, and there's our actions again. All right, so that pretty much does it for this video on swipe actions for TableView cells. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.